What happened to genuine game? Well, I don't really see it everywhere. It seems like there's a distinct lack of it nowadays, especially in the zeitgeist. Movies, TV shows, even video games, honestly. I often find myself reflecting on these movies that I can barely remember. From a time when most movies, shows, and video games felt like a fever dream, the early 2000s. Looking back, it had to be nearly impossible to get someone to notice your vision, let alone take any sort of investment in it. I mean, compared to how relatively easy it is to get your idea across to at least a handful of people now. Somewhere along the way, it feels like campiness of movies like Spider-Man 2002, to be specific. Signs, the movie Signs. Like Mike, if you remember that one. Goldmember, who doesn't remember that one. And Master Disguise, a cult classic, was lost in the noise. Those movies just don't get made anymore. And it's insane to me, at least, that they did in the first place, honestly. I suppose the ideas themselves aren't so outlandish, but the execution is almost masterful in its own right. And it seems as though camp has taken on a new connotation in popular meaning in the 2020s. It's more referred to in the Rocky Horror Picture Show sense, like it's giving camp, and not the Clock Stoppers or Scorpion King sense, which was peak Dwayne Johnson. I don't know what this whole Black Adam thing is. It wasn't a great idea that he wanted to take over the DCEU, but it would have been better than, putting the whole franchise on Ezra Miller's back. What even was that about? I don't know how they didn't expect that to flop, but I digress. Some may make the argument that camp is very alive and real today, and if I look at Netflix right now, I could find it, and they'd be right, kinda, with shows like The Order and The Magicians, but I think that stuff is a subcategory to camp. It's a dark sibling, if you will. Cringe. The dark Sith to the benevolent Jedi that is camp. I actually don't know if Jedis are exactly benevolent, more like a lawful neutral, but you get the idea. Cringe has filled a vacuum left by camp in the early 2000s and infected the zeitgeist. It feels like everyone's just kind of doing it on purpose now, or trying to evoke a style with it. Maybe it's just me, but shows like Velma, for instance, feel like bait at this point. When I think back on Scooby-Doo Incarnations, they're at their core very campy. I mean, just go watch Scooby-Doo or the Hex Girls movie and you'll get what I'm saying. It has a very clear brand, and I just find it weird that they would just chimera it with somebody's probably good original idea, turning the camp itself into cringe. You don't get cringe from, you do get cringe from original ideas, but I think it's even more cringe when you try to chimera those things. It's not even a cool chimera, like a griffin. It's like one of those gross things from Altamaro that live in space and use their farts to get around. I feel like the reason we don't see a lot of new IPs coming out of the woodwork isn't due to a lack of original ideas. It's due to a lack of faith in people's original ideas. Those goofy, corny, beautiful, and campy ideas. That and people who seek to supplement those ideas, trying not to stray too far from the artist's intended vision. No matter how stupid it might sound on paper or outlandish, as long as it isn't hurting anyone, it's just follow through with the idea, even though it can be subjective, and there are situations where another opinion is warranted. But I think in total, we should just let people have their crazy ideas. It's how we get some of the best things we have today. One thing I've come to learn is that when you're being creative, and this may go without saying, is that you have to let people see inside your brain a little bit, expose them to your madness without boring them with a method. The camp, I think, is what we really like about each other, what intrigues us. It's our most earnest self, and sometimes, that raw matter, that campy idea can let us know that, even in a weird way, if it takes a different form, we all harbor some semblance of the same beliefs. But, as always, that's just another indifferent take. Alright, see you later.